I'm Jayresa, your benevolent and sassy mentor, and I'm a survivor of childhood abandonment, physical and emotional abuse, domestic violence, and serious illnesses. I was 34 years old when I began telling my story. Because I hadn't heard many like mine, I've learned to understand how valuable my story and experiences were for the world. So I've created this talk show as a safe space where fellow survivors can talk about their experiences. But this isn't to focus on them then, it's about how they transform their traumas to thrive. Hi, and welcome to another episode of She Is Not Her Trauma. I'm your host, Jayresa, your benevolent and sassy mentor, and I am here to help you embrace your truth, trauma, and transformation. And on today's episode, we will be speaking with Taherra Young in regards to how she dealt with her emotions after childhood trauma. So please stay tuned and join us for this conversation when we return. Hi, Taherra. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. So, how are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. So today, I wanted to talk to you in regards to how you've been able to deal with your emotions after experiencing childhood trauma. So, can you please just provide us with a little insight in regards to um, what your childhood trauma looked like and how you dealt with your emotions?
Absolutely. So, just to kind of give you like a little backstory of how it all really started, um, I've come from a family who have dealt with trauma in itself, coping with alcoholism, and I kind of picked that habit up at a very young age. And um, I this is the role model that I grew up with, and it was kind of sad to see like there was no other alternative how to really kind of cope with the emotions. Having an alcoholic parent in the home and alcoholic other family members who were always around and always partying all the time. So that kind of dealt with a lot of emotional scarring. And there was always a lot of fights going around. And this kind of went on for years until I hit maybe like 15 years old, where things kind of like really got rough, where I started drinking at 14 and drinking a lot and having a lot of issues with having to express myself, trying to get my point across to my parents, and they were not listening and not hearing me. Um, that actually kind of trickled down into getting in trouble a little bit, kind of acting out in school a little bit. And this is like all when I was in high school. And having to be suspended from school, and my parents was like, no, this is not how you're supposed to act, and try to tell me like this is a way to just a way to really express myself is like, okay, I'm going through something and I need your help, and just ignoring the signs that I was going through. And then it didn't take until social services to come and step into the situation and really really saw a different side. Like, okay, this child is really hurting and she's really needing some support and guidance from, support from family and friends and everything like that. But that did not help. My parents kind of saw that as like, okay, she has no problem. Let me just kind of brush this to the side and keep going. And that's exactly what happened. That kind of led down to drugs and a lot more alcohol, and kind of balancing and working and stuff like that. And I did graduate high school in the mix of all of this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was like a lost little puppy, but I mean, with all the emotions going, like starting a new, just graduating and having to deal with this whole emotional trauma that I actually went into, just the emotional abuse behind that. It was just a dark road that led for 20 years.
Wow.
20 years like that.
Wow. So at
Yeah.
no point in time did your parents try to help you, being that they saw you following in their footsteps?
No.
Wow. And why do you think that happened?
I think this is because of the denial. I think the way that they grew up is that, keep quiet, don't talk about it. Whatever goes on at home stays at home. You don't need to seek outside professional help. So they weren't really educated, and they didn't really know the signs until it was kind of almost too late. With the suicidal attempts attached to that, like 3 times at 3 different ages. Yeah, it was rough. It was a really, really rough. Um, yeah, I'm just not being educated, and so I kind of educated myself on my own, and I end up having one of my oldest sons at 23, and was still going through my emotional trauma in the mix of that, and was still trying to be educated and still try to seek help, professional help. And I was on antidepressants while I was after I gave birth, and I had postpartum all at one, and it was just a spiraling. It just got rough from there. Moving from home to home every couple of months, moving like 3 or 4 times a year, not being really stapled with a little one, a toddler, and then just having that, not really have that family support still. And it wasn't until I got, maybe when I turned 27, and that's when I got pregnant with my daughter and had her. And then the emotion part of it was still there. So there was a lot of resentment, and there was a lot of anger. There was a lot of discommunication. There was a lot of arguing. And they still take medications for the family history dynamic. I mean, trauma, it comes in all different shapes and forms, but it also plays a part in family history, medical history as well. So if I know for me, I've dealt with depression for pretty much all my life, and that is a family history that I did not know. It kind of went back from my great grandparents. That kind of trickled down on both sides of families.
Wow. So when we return, Taherra will share with us how she decided to say, okay, I'm at my wits' end, and I no longer want to live this life, and now I want things to be different. So please join us after this break. Welcome back. So, Taherra, right before the break, we heard about your experience with alcohol abuse, and basically you're saying that it was just hereditary in your family and things like that. So, what we want to know is, when did you get to that point of saying, I no longer want to live this life, as I want to now start dealing with my emotions and getting myself together? What was that breaking point for you?
I remember like it was yesterday. It was about almost 3 years ago, where I was leaving my 9 to 5 job and getting my children from daycare, and actually stuck in traffic on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like this was like a sunny day, and the windows were down, the wind was blowing, the music was up, and then it was just that moment in time where I knew that life could be a lot better than what it is. All I saw was my kids and saw them smiling and like laughing and playing, and only thing that was missing was me. And I knew that I needed to change for myself, and not only for me, but for my kids as well, because they deserve a better mom in their lives and be able to support them and encourage them and educate them and really have fun with them. So that was my breaking point.
Wow. And what type of techniques did you implement in order to get you together to say, okay, well now it's time to heal? So what were you doing? Were you going to therapy? Like what type of things did you implement within your life?
Sure. So I actually started off with therapy. I did it for 3 to 6 months. When I made that decision, I seek for therapy. I switched therapists because of the whole childcare situation for my kids. So I had to do everything from home. So I did Skype therapy sessions with my therapist for like 2 months. And then I noticed that that wasn't working for me. And I knew I needed to go a little deeper than what I was going. And this was just kind of like peeling back the band-aid in the sense of, okay, I see the scar that's there, but it's still kind of bleeding a lot. So let me see how I can really patch this up without having to do therapy. So the steps that I actually took was I actually wrote in a journal all of my past emotions, how I was feeling, how I felt towards my parents, how I was feeling in life, and any regrets or anger that I had towards other people that kind of put me in this mindset. I wrote them all a letter each. I did not let them see it. And what I did was I burned those letters in a trash can. Within like, I want to say within 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I started to see like a major shift of like my mindset, and I kind of let that resentment, that anger, that negative energy that I was carrying on for 20 plus years. I let all that go when I burned those letters. And
Wow.
so I educated myself a little bit more on how to really heal within myself. And what I did was I learned how to forgive, and I learned how to forgive myself. I learned how to forgive my parents. I've forgiven my significant other. I've forgiven anybody who's ever done me wrong in life,
Yes.
and be able to take that transformation on forgiving someone and not having that um, reconnecting to that person felt so good, because I don't talk to the people who really done me wrong, who's done me dirty. I've forgiven them, but I don't associate with them anymore. So I know that that's a negative energy that's not in my life. And I learned how to love myself and be more confident
Yes.
and be able to really take action in my life and not stop blaming other people for the problems that I was occurring in my life, because a lot of different things were being repeated in different ways, but the result was the same, if that makes sense.
Right.
And I was seeing that a lot for like 2 years straight. And then it was until I did the deeper inner work um, that made me the person that I am.
Wow. So did you find that it was more helpful for you to implement self-taught techniques than going to therapy?
Yes. In my personal opinion, that is the best possible way that I was able to get myself out of it.
I kind of agree with that though. I mean, look, not kind of. I agree with that. I speak to so many people that say, "Oh, everybody needs therapy," but for me, I feel the opposite. I mean, I feel like my methods to the way that I've taught myself to heal has helped. I mean, I've written in journals, I wrote letters, I've burnt them, sent them, I did a lot of different things, and even as far as having a background with behavior and and able to incorporate cognitive behavior therapy within it. is something similar to what the therapists are using anyway, right? So me being able
Right.
to have background, I was able to actually utilize my own techniques that I was teaching other people how to implement. So I think that it's definitely, like, I can agree with you that not everybody needs to go see a therapist. So I mean, I commend you for that, to say like, okay, well, I've had enough, and now I need to educate myself and find other ways on how I can heal myself. And that's definitely, important. So after this break, when we return, we will talk to Taherra in regards to how she has became the thriving woman that she is today. Hello, and welcome to She Is Not Her Trauma. How many other people are out there not realizing that they've experienced trauma? I'm your host, Jayresa, your benevolent and sassy mentor, and I am here to help you embrace your truth, trauma, and transformation. Welcome back. So, Taherra, right before the break, we talked about how you know, got to that point where you said, okay, I've had enough, and now I am going to educate myself so that I can get onto the road of healing. So, once you got on that amazing road to recovery and healing yourself and educating yourself, how has that transformed into the woman that you are today?
That's a great question. So, I mean, it's changed my world in a good light. I see things for in a different light than I did before. I understand other people's views a lot more clearer than I was before. I understand why they say what they say when they say it. I understand my kids more because I understand that they were also going through their own emotional trauma themselves, and able to help them through that was the biggest thing, the biggest gift I could ever give myself, for the person I am today, because I'm able to help my kids in the same way. I saw the history repeating itself, and so I put a stop to it.
Yes. And that's so important, because sometimes we don't realize that we are actually hindering the little people that's watching us, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely important. So in regards to, did you get to the point where before today you were sharing your story to help heal other women? What have you been doing in regards to that? Like, how do you feel about sharing your story?
Yeah, so I've been blasting and educating and sharing my story all over social media. I've been helping a lot of other women who are going through similar situations as myself, and helping them take that next step in healing themselves and their world, so they can definitely have the love that they are wanting to have. I think that with trauma in itself, no matter what kind of trauma it is, you kind of lose a part of you through that dark stages. And in order to really come on the other side of it, is you have to kind of heal and go through the process, but also learn for the very first time who you are. And it could be simple as you don't know who you are as this new version of you until you actually figure out what you actually want. Because I can say for myself, the things that I used to like before all of this darkness is not the is not the same things I like now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so do you like hold like sessions? Do you do mentoring? Like what type of things do you do in regards to helping the other women?
So yeah, I mean, I coach in a group setting, and I also do coaching one-on-ones as well. So I help women who are going through a really difficult, challenging time. And I notice that there's no matter what kind of trauma, again, you have, you kind of need to learn how to love yourself and heal within. And once you heal within, it will match on the outside.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, do you have any tips or pointers that you can provide to us on ways that we can actually deal with our emotions for those who have faced childhood trauma or face experiences like yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. The most thing I always tell everybody else, like I could tell my friends who are going through similar things, the only suggestion I would definitely tell everybody is to, if you're in a dark place, sit with your emotions for, a little while. It doesn't matter how long you're sitting there for. Not take too much time, like not 2 weeks, but just take a little bit of time to like really, really figure out how you want to feel, and if you want to feel like that forever. If you don't, then that's when you take the action to make it better for you.
Mm. That makes sense. That makes sense. Along with actually implementing some of the other techniques that you mentioned, like journaling and writing letters and things like
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
at this point of time in your life, how do you really feel? Like, do you feel that you're completely healed? Are you still dealing with your emotions? Like, what part of what stage are you in your life at this moment in time?
I can say that I am completely healed 110% now, because now I can talk about my story without having the emotions attached to it. That's that's the first signs when you know you're completely healed inside. When you don't have to cry about it or have some type of a negative emotion to it, you can talk with proud, because it's a part of you. It does not reflect who you are as a person.
And that's fair to say. I mean, for some people, healing takes time, years. Some people just never get to that point. Some people, they're able to completely heal. I mean, for me, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% completely healed, but I can say that I'm at least 90%. Why? Because I've been able to learn, my trigger signs and things like that. So even in regards to you, like, what coping techniques were you able to implement so that when you did hit those moments that something triggered you, you were able to, come out of that? So what were you able to implement?
So with, my significant other, he kind of triggers me every now and again on certain different things. So this is a perfect example for that. So how I'm able to do it is I catch myself when I feel like the urge of anger, or if I feel like I'm getting upset. I try to cool down. I do what's exciting for me. So what I do is I actually like to go outside and sit outside, catch the breeze, and I just sit with that emotion. And by the time I come back inside, I'm able to snap right out of it. And I understand why I get in that moment, and I explain, I'm sorry, I apologize for trying to express the negative side of that emotion. And I want to take it to that place. I want to be in a positive state when I talk about it. And that way we're able to kind of talk about it without nagging or feeling a certain type of way. And that's the healthiest way possible, is if you catch yourself in that negative state, do something that you love to do to keep your mind out of that. It's a really good technique to do. And a lot of people don't do that, but it's just that so simple to do it that way.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So
yeah,
you state that you're 110% healed. So
yes.
If you have a message for your old self, what would it be?
I would say thank you for this journey that you put me through. Even though it was a hard road to go, I understand why I had to go through it. To be able to teach other women across the world who are going through a traumatic experience, who either have never even taken the leap to do it, or they've tried a lot of million different things and nothing seems to work. Um, I, I'm excited to be able to teach this new technique that is really, really worth doing. And it's really simple. It's a simple technique that everybody can definitely use.
Right. And how hard do they need to work at this simple technique in order to be able to say that they're successful at it?
They need to do it as often as they need to. So, I mean, if that's like a couple of times a minute, or every couple of hours, or throughout the day. I mean, I do it throughout the day, and I'm able to snap out of it so quickly because I'm doing it all the time, like 24/7. So if you do that, you'll start to see the results at some point. I mean, it won't take. I'm not gonna say it's gonna take like a snap of a finger. You do it for a week and it's gonna be gone. No, it's gonna take a long time to really heal from it and do the technique.
So is it fair to say, okay, because statistics say it takes about 21 days to create a habit, and then it takes about 90 days to create a lifestyle. So is it fair to say that within that amount of time, I can actually be successful to make a turnaround in my life if I'm consistent with it daily? Is that fair enough to say?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can respect that, and I really appreciate that, because once again, like I said, there's so many of us that are still struggling on trying to identify ways that we can cope and like heal ourselves. Some of us do utilize therapy. However, maybe our therapist is not really, matching our, the things that we're actually coping from. Sometimes they don't really understand us. So that's why I always try to explain to people too. Sometimes implementing self-taught, techniques is also helpful, because you're not going to always have access to your therapist. So if you're able to incorporate maybe some of the things that you taught yourself along with what the therapist was able to teach you, then, it's a lot, you have a greater chance at, not allowing those certain things to trigger you. So I definitely want to say thank you in regards to those tips. And also I would like to say thank you for sharing your story and, helping out so many other women, that may not know which direction to go at this moment of time. So before we go, I just wanted you to once again let us know what is your whole purpose of saying that you needed to share your story on how you dealt with your triggers from childhood trauma.
So the reason why I do this is because I want to be able to have the world, so many hopeful people in this world, especially women who are moms, who are entrepreneurs, women are very strong in general. And I hate to see that the women who are going through these traumatic experiences, because I see the hurt I've experienced for so many years. And I want to be able to give this new way of coping and be able to transition to that healing mindset and be able to say, I'm good with the trauma. The trauma is not who I am now. I'm able to say I'm healed from it. And so this is the reason why I love to do what I do, is because it's something that I knew I was going to be doing in the first place. It's helping other women be who they are without that darkness, a cloud above them. And I want to be able to see like so many bright and beautiful faces across the world who are like, all right, this trauma was my past. It's not my past. It's not who I am now. I'm embracing who I am. I'm beautiful. I am smart. I can do whatever I choose to do without this dark cloud over me. And I feel like that darkness cloud is taking away a lot of potential women in the world. Yeah. And being happy.
I love it. I love it. And I just want to say, keep on thriving, sister. Keep on, changing the lives of other people. And once again, I would like to thank you for sharing your story with us today. And I'm just grateful. And I just want to say thank you again, sister.
Thank you so much, sister. I love you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be able to share this story and help other women across the world.
Yes, thank you. Until
You're
next time.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of She Is Not Her Trauma. If you are ready to embrace your truth, trauma, and transformation, visit us on Instagram, Facebook, or our website to share your story. Until then, tune in next week Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Promote Her Network channel.